Okay, hi viewers. Today I'm going to tell you an important topic in economics. I'm going to deal with markets. So today I'll explain markets and classification of markets. Okay. So in general terms, markets means where you have consumers, producers, and variety of goods and services. And when you ask a layman about market, he says that it's a place where consumers go to purchase goods and services, and buyer, producers or sellers sell. And there is an important component in the market which is called as price. So there is a concept called price, and consumers and producers. Okay. But when we are coming uh, as economic students, there is a wider or a broader meaning in the concept of markets, where in general we told that it's a place where consumers and sellers meet together, and the sellers sell the products and the consumers purchase them, and there is an important component which is called as price. Price is determined, and price the sellers or the producers sell the products and the consumers price. As we have already mentioned in the previous topics, that free goods are very a minimum, like every good is an economic good, and there is a price which plays an important role. Now coming to the students of economics, uh, uh, I'll give you certain examples where we can see that the producers or the sellers and the consumers need not meet at a place, but still if selling and purchasing takes place, it's also called as markets. We have seen many platforms like teleshopping network, where uh, the consumer does not meet the seller with a medium, the seller or the consumer with a medium of communication, like a telephone or through internet or through a letter. They communicate each other, and the consumer gets a product from the seller, and the consumer pays the seller money either through money order or through electronic payment, and there is exchange of money and products. In wider term, you also call it as market. So a layman, when you ask a layman, he says that market means it's a place where consumers and sellers meet together. But as students of economics, you have to remember that there is not at all restriction in the place. A consumer can be at a point, and a seller may be at another point. They don't meet each other, but still, if some medium of communication, as I've told you, through letters, through telephone, through internet, if they communicate and the exchange of goods and services takes place from the seller to consumer, and the money is transferred to the seller, that's also called as markets. Now coming to the classification of markets, markets can be classified into three on the basis of place, on the basis of time and on the basis of competition. Okay? So markets are classified into three categories. Okay, so we are categorizing markets as on the basis of place, time and competition. Now coming to place, we have again three types. The place is again subdivided into three types. Like you have local market, you have national market, and you have international market. Okay, so on the basis of place, the market is subdivided into three categories: local markets, national markets and international markets. So first we look into what is a local market. Local market is a market where the demand and supply is confined to a particular place, where the consumers and the sellers are confined to a particular place, and the process of buying and selling takes place. So here buying and selling takes place in a particular place. It is confined to a place. So that you call as a local market. And to be more specific, local markets, the items that you find in a local market or majority are perishables. Okay? So the products which we find in the local markets are perishables. Perishables means which spoil very easily. I'll give you the examples of perishables like fruits, vegetables, uh, the meat products, eggs, dairy products, next green leafy vegetables. All these come under perishables, which if you don't store them properly, they spoil very easily. And these perishables generally, I'm telling you, generally they are found in a local market. So a place where we go for vegetables, fruits, all those. And I'll tell you one more interesting thing is that as we have advanced technology, these items we have so called as perishables are now imported very easily, and we also export them very easily with the usage of cold storages and all those. These perishables are preserved, but still, even though you put technology aside, the thing is clear that we generally buy perishable items from the local market. So the local market is a place where the demand of a product and the supply of a product is confined to a particular place. So all these perishables come under local market. So if you want to buy milk, we generally go to the market which is very near to us. If you want to buy vegetables or fruits, fresh fruits, we generally go to the place which is very near to us. Okay, now coming to the national market. National market is that market where the demand and supply of product is confined, or it's spread over a country. That is called a national market. Where here the items like sugar, rice, wheat, and some electronic items also. So demand and supply of a product is, throughout a country. It's throughout a country, spread over a country, that is called a national market. So we are getting, Kashmiri apples to even Telangana also. And the items that are produced in Telangana, it can be sent to any state of the country. So these items, which you can store them if in a proper way, you can just export or import. Okay, so national market, where the items like sugar, rice, wheat, all these come under the national market. Like it is confined, the demand and supply of a product is confined throughout a country. This is called a national market. And coming to international market, or you can call this as a world market. This is also called as world market. The demand and supply of a product, it's going, passing all the borders. It's like the demand and supply of a product is seen everywhere in the world. That's called as world market or international market. In general, I'll give you the examples of international market like gold, silver, electronic items. So the goods and services, they're traveling from one country to another country. So according to place, the markets are divided as local markets, national markets, and international markets. As I've told you before, the perishable items are also now coming under international market. The items from India like mangoes and dairy products or poultry products are also exported to other countries because of the advancement in technology. Okay, now coming to the next category, that is time. Markets are subdivided on time. We have again three. They are called as very short period. Second one is short period. And the third one is a long period. We have also another category called very long period. But in general, when taken time as a criteria, the markets are divided into three: very short period, and long period. Now coming to the first one, very short. And I'll tell you one more interesting thing, that Marshall, economist Alfred Marshall, has explained this concept in a very, very elaborative way. Time and markets. So coming into very short period, what is this very short period? If the market, if it exists, say for a few hours, less than one day, it is called as very short period. And it's also called as, another name for very short period is also called as market period. We have this fairs, as we call Santa, Angadi in Telugu. It takes for say few hours, like half a day. So that is called as very short period or market. Now what is happening in this very short period or market period? In this, as I have told you that the time is very, very less. Here, supply is equal to stock. Okay? In this very short period, there is a peculiar feature That is, supply is equal to stock. Now what is supply and what is stock? Supply means um, the product, the seller is ready to sell his product at a given price. That is called supply. I am ready to sell my product at a given price. That is called supply. So what is stock? Stock means the entire amount of entire quantity of the product is called stock. The total quantity which he has produced is called stock. Say if I have 50 kgs of tomatoes, I have not more than 50 kgs. So I have only 50 kgs. Now this 50 kgs is called stock. The total quantity which the seller has with him. And if I am ready to sell all the 50 kgs, then it's also called as supply. Now you may ask me a question, why I am ready to sell all the 50 kgs? Because tomatoes are perishables. So if I put them for the next day, they may get spoiled. So on the same day, I am ready to sell all the entire quantity which I am having. So the peculiar feature of very short period is called as supply is equal to stock. As I told you, stock means the total quantity which the producer is possessing or having with him. And supply is the entire quantity or the quantity he is ready to sell at a given price. So in this very short period, the supply and stock are equal. And as I have told you, market price, a very short period or market period is a period, it consists of only 3 to 4 hours, very few hours. So the stock which he has with him, he is willing to sell the entire stock. If he puts aside, if he takes the remaining quantity for the next day, he may not get that price as he is getting today. Okay. And one more important feature of market period is that the price in a market period is called as market price. So what is this market price? The price in the very short period is called as market price, and the period is called as market period. What is this market price? So I assume a price that for these 50 kgs I'll at 10 rupees I'll sell 1 kg. So for 50 kgs I'll be getting 500 rupees. So with the assumption that 1 kg I sell at 10 rupees. I go there in the market. If I see all the sellers having fresh tomatoes and nobody is coming to purchase from my counter or from my place, what I will do when there is no demand, I'll start decreasing the price. Say, okay, I'll go with 8 rupees. I'll go with 7 rupees. If say I have taken 50 kgs of tomatoes, fresh tomatoes, and nobody is there with tomatoes, so what I will do? Seeing the demand of the product, the buyers coming for fresh tomatoes, I raise the price. So this is called as market price. So I assume a price and go to the market, and with the flow of demand, if the consumers are coming to my place, I may increase the price. If the consumers are not coming to purchase, I may decrease it. So in the very short period, the price depends only on demand. I'll give you a diagram. This is price, and here which denote demand and supply. Okay? Okay. So how many kgs are brought to the market? 50 kgs. Okay, and that is fixed. Fixed. A few hours market. If I want to, increase my stock, the market will be closed. So what I do? I have brought 50 kgs. 50 kgs. The supply is say 50 kgs and that is fixed. I cannot increase and I don't want to decrease it. Why? Because if I put some tomatoes aside, they may get spoiled for the next day, by the next day. So the supply curve in the very short period or market period is fixed. Okay? And now see the demand curve. As you all know, the demand curve is the downward sloping from left to right. So, and when supply and demand coincides, you get the price P. And when there is increase in demand, say D1, automatically the price will increase. And when there is no demand, no one is coming to buy my product, what I'll do? I will decrease. So in the market period, the price entirely depends on demand. If there is increase in demand and the price increase, there is increase in price, and when there is decrease in demand and nobody is coming, I'll start decreasing the price. So the price simply depends on the market situations, depends upon the consumer behavior, depends upon the demand. So it is called as market price. Okay, this is very short. Now coming to short period. This is short period. As I've told you that this concept was explained beautifully by Marshall. Now coming to short period, you'll see. In this short period, as we know, there are 4 factors of production. We have studied them at a very, very early stage. 4 factors of production. Okay, they are land, labor, capital, and organization. Okay, these 4 factors are useful in the production activity. Okay. Now coming to short period, when we are dealing with the short period, Marshall says that these 4 factors of production are divided into 2. 4 factors of production, land, labor, capital, and organization, are divided into 2 categories. They are, okay, these 4 factors are divided into 2 categories. They are called as fixed factors and variable factors. Okay, so these 4 factors of production, land, labor, capital, and organization, are subdivided into fixed factors and variable factors. What is this fixed factors? Fixed factors are those factors which you cannot change in that particular time, and the factors which we can change are called as variable factors. Now with this fixed factors and variable factors, we have a beautiful principle on production which is called as a law of variable proportions, which was explained by Marshall. And law of variable proportions, it was confined to short period. So in short period you have fixed factors and variable factors. And Marshall, in the law of variable proportions, which he explained only to the agricultural sector, he says that there are three fixed factors. So land is fixed, capital is fixed, and organization, say, and the only variable factor is labor. Okay, so with this assumptions, so in the short period, as I've told you, that the factors of production, 4 factors of production are divided into 2 categories: fixed factors and variable factors. And according to Marshall, he has given a theory called law of variable proportions, which was confined to short period, and in that theory he explains that law of variable proportions is only, it's only confined to agricultural sector. And he says that land in a fixed time, land, capital, organization is fixed in sense you cannot change them. Say land, you have a land of 2 acres, say 1 tractor, money, and you want to cultivate. And if you say that you are having more profits, if you have anticipating more profits by the crop, you want to, increase land, have more capital, but in that certain period you cannot go for a land, you need a buyer. Okay, so all these constraints, he says that there are few assumptions in the law of variable proportions, and he says that land, whatever land you have, with that land only you start cultivating. So land is fixed, next capital is fixed, organization is fixed, and you can only change, or the only variable factor according to Marshall is labor. Okay, so with this combination, fixed land, capital, organization, and variable factor of labor, with this combination he gave a theory called law of variable proportions. And in that he says that you cannot increase the production as you wish. Okay, at some stage the production starts decreasing. That we can explain broadly in the law of variable proportion. That is why the theory is also called as law of diminishing returns. Law of variable proportions is also called as law of diminishing returns. The production, it goes, it increases, and then suddenly, even though the labor is increased, the production starts decreasing. So if you want to increase the production, certainly you have to increase the land, increase the capital and organization. So in the short period, as I told you, you have 2 factors which are called as fixed factors and variable factors, and with this combination he has given a theory called law of variable proportions, and it's also called as law of diminishing returns. Okay, and I'll give you the diagram for this. Price is denoted on the y-axis, and on x you have demand and supply. Okay, so the supply curve, it increases later on. It starts constant, or it starts it doesn't increase. And as we have told, the demand curve, this is supply, this is demand, and the price is determined. If there is increasing demand, the price is increased, and if there is a decrease in demand, the price is decreased. So, and this law of variable proportions, it can be dealt in a separate, as a separate topic. Now coming to long period. Long period. So okay, in this long period, the economy says that the four factors of production, as I've told you, land, labor, capital and organization, are variables. So all the four factors of productions are variables. Variables means you can change. You can change labor, you can change land, you can change capital, you can change organization. Okay, at whatever extent you want. And there is also theory in this long period, laws of returns to scale. Okay, there is also theory which was explained beautifully, because it is a returns to scale, and that also you can discuss in a detailed way. So in this long period, all the four factors of production can be changed. So according to the demand, if there is increase in demand, you can increase the supply. If there is a decrease in demand, you can decrease the supply. Demand and supply, this is price. So the curve, supply curve, is sloping upwards from left to right, and the demand curve, as we all know, is sloping downwards from left to right, and price, and this is demand. If there is increase in demand, say D1, automatically in the long period there is also increase in supply. Okay, and a new price may be determined. If there is decrease in demand, there is decrease in supply, and where they have met, a new price is determined. So on the basis of time, the markets are divided into very short period, and